vacation, and I think both of them got home sick.
Yeah, I went to see him. I went to see his son this morning, and he was sitting there, and he was all covered up. I know everybody stops at the end, but I like it. Everybody I know every stuff I don't even want to know.
They make some stuff to prevent it, but I don't know if they make anything to try to calm it down.
I would rather. I didn't know he was on vacation. I really didn't in this.
Did you get the chair?
I was the last one here, so I got the chair.
He's not.
I never remember. I think a WD-40 might help me.
What's that?
Can a WD-40 might help.
Yeah. It all depends on how I sit. I sit like this.
I don't go to the
You
teacher.
gotta sit like a statue.
That's right.
I got some firm in the principal.
I can't stand that stuff. I just,
It's really important that marijuana is green, and I really would appreciate it.
I hope I'm going to go back to work today. I got my doctorate in Cincinnati. I took that. It's horrible. Like I never had something in your time. People have grandkids is what happens.
I had half a beach last night and this morning until I went to the ranch. It's a sloppy mess. The water is so far.
Too far away from the homes that people take care of them. My ex-wife lives about 2 miles from home. Perfect today. My wife lives about 2 miles from the other one.
Yeah, no, I don't have any. I got a little smokehouse. I always said it's offset. Trying to pull the moisture out of the air. I was sure he is. But in order for the air conditioning cycle to turn a heater on, to make it fight each other. That's how I get by. I need to buy a DVD. That's what we're doing. 47 pounds of turkey. Like these turkeys.
He loves his job. He's in the game.
Recipe is hopefully I can get it down to
Oh, wow.
We didn't want to go to work.
It's supposed to be nice.
Thursday, Friday, we want to do basically 24 hours. We're supposed to go on at 8 and go on to 12. We were ready to do there. We put
Never thought I'd say that. Blake's still in. Blake's 7.8 feet in the hole. I've been moving the doctors out there every week.
I started going on.
7.8 conservation. Yeah, so I think that's tough.
Meeting with day 5, let him in, go fishing.
Inches a day.
It's changed a lot. I mean, when I was there, I spent 2 days.
There's just so many to do that. Talk to me.
Never, Jerry, you ready? We're going to call the October 23rd City Council meeting to order. I want to announce that Mayor Kelly had to travel halfway around the world to find something to make him sick enough to miss the meeting tonight. So I've been asked to conduct this meeting in his stead. So we have called to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Let the record show that all members of council are here except the mayor. And if you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I protest this flag, pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This evening, I don't know if we have our Pastor Joel Warren. Are you with us this evening? He was going to give us the invocation.
He's not, if I can do it for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you that we're able to live in a country where we can meet and assemble and freely talk about the things that govern our lives. We pray that the decisions that will be made here today that will be made with you in mind and also with the best interest of the citizens of this city in mind. Be with us. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Item 5 is the mayor's comments. In his stead, I have some written comments that were handed to me. We will have the bulk waste pickup this week, so if you've got bulky waste, includes heavy materials, cans, appliances, is that correct? I mean, bulk waste is not just brush, but large solid objects, okay? Citywide yard sale, the first weekend of November. And I believe the proceeds for that go to the pet shelter, correct? And then the old-fashioned Christmas will be the first weekend in December. And then November 12th is a city holiday and all offices will be closed. Is Laura with us this evening? Okay, well, Laura... Chantal. I always want to call her Robbins. Is apparently working on some changes to the community development and development procedure guide, which is available in the permits and developments page of the city website. A residential permit package and a commercial permit package, which provides submittal requirement lists, typical inspection lists, common forms, and other helpful information for residents and applicants. The Young Eagles Flight Day at the airport was held in September. 67 kids were treated to a day of free food and airplane rides and fun. The event was sponsored by the local chapter of the Experimental Aircraft Association. Drainage ditches have been cleared on the south side of Highway 90 on Constantinople, Algiers, and Mexico streets, and on the north side of 90 on Mexico and Naples streets. Hopefully that will alleviate some of the problems we've been seeing, or help to. The city is fixing potholes throughout the city as weather permits, which it hasn't permitted much of lately. And as a part of the library children's program, we will be painting sugar skulls for the Day of the Dead on Friday, October 26th. On October 12th, the library painted 96 pumpkins and took in more than 150 patrons in an hour and a half. The park is power washing all the park facilities, so go out and look at them. They look great. This includes Regional Park and the RV Park, the Pool House, and Lions Park. These will be put on a monthly schedule for upkeep, and the staff is mowing Highway 90. I noticed they got a good bit of it done, but it looked like it was a lot of work. So, on the bulk waste pickup information, I have a flyer here. What's acceptable is household trash, couches, chairs, washers, dryers, stoves, appliances, as long as they are Freon-free. Small items should be boxed or bundled. What is not acceptable is hazardous waste, tires, car parts, concrete, dirt, construction debris, outdoor fencing, oils, liquids of any kind, hot tubs, railroad ties, yard waste, and other appliances with Freon. Please do not put the items out until the week of pickup, which is November 12th through 17th, and place your discarded items in areas clear in the front of your residence, avoiding putting them under power lines or trees. Any Freon-filled items must be tagged by a qualified technician showing that all Freon has been removed and do not mix scrap iron, wire, or any other metal objects with brush or shrubbery. No tires will be picked up. And that's the announcements I was asked to pass on from the mayor. That takes us to the consent agenda, which is item 6, which includes the minutes from the September 24th meeting. I'd ask if there are any revisions, corrections, or additions. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I motion to approve as written.
Okay, motion? Second. And second? A motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any further or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item 7 is citizen comments. I have 3 members of the community who have signed up to speak. I would ask you to please help yourselves to the microphone and identify yourself and your address.
Good evening. I'm Jamie Brock. I live at 1219 Alamo Street, and I'm a citizen here in Castroville, a business owner, and a Christian. And I've always found Castroville to be a very strong Christian community. But I've been driving down Highway 90, and there's a sign across from the Dairy Queen that I find very inappropriate, offensive, and embarrassing. And I have not been taking my grandchildren to the Dairy Queen because I don't want to explain that sign. And I also have guests and visitors that come into Castroville, and I think they find it offensive. So I would like to see something done about the sign. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
Meg Connor, I signed up. I just would like to echo Jamie's comments also.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Sonnen, and I live at 131 Village Path. I would like to reiterate a little of what Ms. Brock said. I've been here 26 years, and in my neighborhood, and I think Mr. Shearhart will attest to this, we're a pretty close, I'd almost say close family. From a political point of view, I can tell you right now that if there's ever an emergency, medical emergency, we're always there for each other. If one of us goes on vacation and they want us to look out for their house, no problem. We may see things differently, again, from a political point of view, but that doesn't matter. We've always been a pretty close-knit group there in Country Village. But 2 weeks ago, when I took my wife to eat at this eatery that Ms. Brock brought to our attention, it was my wife who noticed the sign, and I was appalled. I was disgusted. But I've been around the block enough to know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, having a master's degree, it doesn't take a master's degree to know that it's not about freedom of speech. Certainly, in this country, we can say and do just about anything we want within reason. But it's the economic development. I'll give you a very quick example. A young couple comes into Castroville. They drive in, they say, "We love this town, look at this." So they decide to go eat at this eatery, this popular eatery across from this sign, and they look out while they're eating and they see that. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment. And the question to ask every one of you here, is this what Castroville's about? Is this what we stand for? Drop in party affiliation. Just looking at us as residents of Castroville, is this what we stand for? I think not. And the very last thing I'd like to say is, and I'm not going to go into what the sign says, but the first word is liberal. I'm wondering, and I'll leave you with this, what if the sign said conservative, blank, blank? Would I be standing here? Or would there be about 500 or 600 people in here raising, you know what? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the list of individuals who signed in to speak at citizens' comments. So I'm going to close that item and move on to item 8, which is review and appropriate action on the Airport Advisory Board recommendations and the airport standards and procedures, and that would be Officer Mike Fisher and Michael Arnold.
Council and Director Kim, we appreciate the opportunity to get in front of you today. The discussion at hand here, the reason we're back to see you, is really around a request that happened, and I'd like to take just a moment because some of you weren't here the last time I was here with our then airport manager, or airport director, Claudia Mora. And so Ms. Mora had started this process for us. When she took over the airport director role, she found that there were no real written rules or regulations, and so she was getting openly challenged at times by attendants and pilots at the airport when she would try to say, you can't do this, you can't operate your vehicle in this area, you can't do these things, and they would say, well, tell us why. There's no, where is that written? So she was frustrated by that, so she reached out to TxDOT for some guidance. They gave her kind of a recommendation format, a layout of a recommendation of rules and regulations that airports they think should look at as a basis for their individual rules and regulations. So that's where this started. We were asked at the Airport Advisory Board to take those recommendations and then customize them for our operations at the airport and then bring it to you for a final recommendation. We did that earlier this year, and there were some questions around the document that we brought. It was inconclusive. And so we were asked to come back and relook at this. So one thing that we discovered is that most of us on the board were not aware of is that there is some city code written in Chapter 18 it is, and that's how we refer to it in our document here. And it said that some of this has already been codified in the city code, so that we needed to look at getting that changed if we were going to make changes. Part of that city code talks about things that are defined by FAA rules and regulations themselves. And it's almost the city trying to state a rule that is already in the FAA rules, and sometimes they're not even in sync. And so that they're really maybe antiquated, and the FAA has changed. But the opinion of the Airport Advisory Board is that many of those that have to do with air operations are really not required in the code. And we went through that in detail, marrying up the TxDOT document, the document that we had worked on to wordsmith it and to make it our own, and then the city code to say what is the final version that we would like to recommend to the city council here to take a look at. Ultimately, we think that this document is one that we do need to have the city attorneys look at and look at what we would have to do to change the code, remove part of that code, and then the sections that would probably need to be codified, what would that entail? But we've got a document that we feel very comfortable with. A little bit of, as I've gone through this final version, I apologize, there are still a few typos in there and some spacing issues. But I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and I can go through the document myself and just kind of highlight some of the changes that we are recommending, however you would like.
Why don't you go ahead and do a quick walkthrough, and then if there are any questions, you might get interrupted. So.
Yep. The document that you have in front of you has got the, I believe, has the markouts. So it shows the what was in there in red is what we were talking about, either replacing or removing. Those replacements cause a change in the rules 2.2, 2.3. You'll see some markouts on those because we'll get those reordered. But this document gives you the ability to see what we were asking to either change or strike out. But I thought I would focus my attention on the things that are part of the code today that dealt with aviation FAA rule regulations that we were advising and requesting to be changed. And so I'll just bring your attention to one in particular here. And this is, it's listed on your sheet here. I believe it's on page 6, at the top of page 6. And if that's the case for your document as well, I've got a couple of versions here that are easier for me to see. Actually, it's going to be Rule 4X's, and on your document, I apologize. It's on the bottom of page 5, and it talks about reporting traffic. I can find it here. Okay, actually that one's struck out. The one I was wanting, where the referred runway is there. Looking at the red here. So we took it, I see that we had someone finish this document after our last meeting, and we took notes, and it looks like they've taken out the things that we were recommending to be taken out. So they're not showing here, but I'll touch base on a couple of those. One is about reporting traffic intentions. And in the code, in the Chapter 18 code, it actually says what you have to do as a pilot when you're in the pattern of the airport and you're on downwind base. Well, that's all part of the FAA rules, and we were trying, the city in the code was trying to express what that should be and how to make that happen. We thought that was redundant and not necessary. There was another one around takeoff climbs, and it talks about climbing out to a certain level, which can be defined, but it also can be defined in our air traffic rules and what you would find on any available information about the airport in terms of the climbing to a certain altitude. So from a code, no pilot who's going to be transitioning through the area, stopping to get fuel, is going to know about the city code. And it really doesn't do any good for that pilot. It has to be readily found information in the airport facilities guide and other areas that pilots go and refer to for all the information they need. There was one in particular, though, that was in the code that was important that we felt like, and one of them was about the altitude above the high school. And in the code it says that pilots need to be over 1,000 feet above the high school. Well, the ground level at the airport is 773 feet, and the current altitude, pattern altitude that's in all of the documentation that is posted out there, FAA, airport facility guides, etc., states that the pattern altitude is 1,603 feet above sea level. Well, that difference is only about 800 feet, 800 and some odd feet above the high school. And so if that's the case, we're telling every pilot to be at 800 feet when in fact the code says they need to be at 1,000. We're advising Mr. Fisher here to approach the TxDOT and the FAA to look at raising that to 1,000 feet above the high school, which would be 1,800 mean sea level, is how the pilots look at it. That would get us within the code. We think that's a good logical, something that's in the code, and we think that makes a lot of sense leaving that in there. It's very normal for pilots to fly at 1,000 feet, to understand that most pattern altitudes are 1,000 feet above the runway. And so if you haven't availed yourself of all necessary information before flying, and you're supposed to, you would come in at 1,000 feet. Right now, our pattern is only 800 feet above ground level. So we think that can cause a problem in the future, could have caused a problem now, just pilots being at different altitudes.
And that information is disseminated through the FAA at this point?
Yes, sir. It's on all the maps and all of the information that a pilot would avail themselves of prior to making a flight. So if you were going to fly to Castroville, you would look up the information on the Castroville Airport. A lot of this now is on devices. There's applications on an iPad or iPhone or whatever that you would look at before you flew into that airport. You can even access it while you're in flight if you made a last-minute decision to stop there. And it would tell you what the pattern altitude is. It would tell you the runways, and all of the information that you would need, the frequency to communicate to other aircraft in the area.
So our standard is actually below the FAA's recommendation?
It's actually below our code, the city code. Okay. 200 feet, about 200 feet below the city code, and the city code actually is what the FAA recommends. You can have a recommended pattern altitude. Typically, that's 1,000 feet above the ground, and so in this case, it would be 1,800 mean sea level. So that's an example of what we did.
I've already contacted TxDOT Aviation on that, explain it to them, they get it, they've already referred it to the FAA and given me a name and a point of contact. He's already contacted me. This is going to be an easy thing for them to fix.
It's a bookkeeping.
This is easy for them. It's go into the correct databases and fix this, right?
You're talking about Rule 5, altitude and noise of engines also?
Yes.
Is that included? And it says operated over the city, so it's got the city and the school district. So what would the confines of the city be for that particular altitude?
Yeah, so the city, we were advising to leave that one in. That's already is part of the code. We were leaving that one in.
So the city, so this would mean we don't have any of the crop dusters or anything doing anything at over the city?
Yes. So from a pilot's perspective, typically that's housing, business operations, et cetera. Farmland, even though it may be part of the city, pilots understand that you're not going to be buzzing the houses and the businesses.
Okay.
But tonight, as I was driving in, we have our crop duster there was flying very low over right there by the airport and flying over Walmart, making.
But that would be the exception.
That would be the exception. Okay. There is a section in here having to do with
oh, it does.
agricultural spring. That's Rule 5.9.
Oh, okay, good.
So once again, this was just a couple of examples. I don't want to take much of your time tonight, but I wanted to understand what we were trying to accomplish here. Striking out or recommending a strikeout of some of the code, and then asking that we turn this over to the city attorneys to look at codifying the other pieces. Really, there could be two things. One is an active working document that the airport director would have that could be readily changed without having to come to council, without having to recodify. And these are just general rules and regulations about how we're going to operate this in this airport itself. Then there's things that really should be codified that when a city council member is challenged by a member of the community as to why an airplane is flying at a certain altitude, there's something to refer to that citizen. So I think that we should have some things codified, and we've highlighted those. But some of this document, it should really just be up to the airport manager as we make improvements to the airport, adding security fencing, things of that nature. There may be other changes to the rules that the airport director would like to make to give advice to the people how to operate at the airport, and that really doesn't need to be codified, in our opinion.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On page 3, rule number 2, storage of non-aviation equipment.
Yes, sir.
On the line 5, it says under IST-1 power. I think it's supposed to mean under its own power.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
You might want to change that.
Yes.
And on page 12, section 12, emergency enactment, in line 2, I think you're missing the word if before the word and. It doesn't make sense the way it's written.
Okay, sir.
Which paragraph, sir?
Section 12?
Page 12, section 12, the second line, it starts with the word and. It doesn't make sense, but maybe you're supposed to put the word if an emergency.
If an emergency.
Yeah, I think you put the word if in there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's the only two things I found when I read it.
The real key to all this is we need to really take the stuff out of the city ordinance. It's all FAA flight-related stuff that doesn't belong in there. Create an updated rules and regulations document that really can nail down a real fine point how we want the airport run. And then as FAA changes all the rules, our city ordinance doesn't become obsolete.
Well, yeah, basically the ordinance can say, please see the policy, and the policy says...
It needs to be two separate documents. Right.
I don't have no questions.
Okay. And Phyllis?
Well, like you said, this is a work in progress. I was just wondering about the fueling trucks. This page 7 of 12 at the top. D, so above ground use will be constructed and installed, registered as required, monitored for leakage, blah, 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 blah. So I just have a question. If they do build these fuel tanks, is that what this is assuming, that someone's going to construct a fuel tank?
I need to see exactly where you're looking.
I'm on page 7 of 12D.
Section 6D.
Fuel storage tanks for
Yeah, we already have above ground.
We have above ground tanks already.
And so this is a part.
Just if they're constructed and installed in addition to what we already have.
That's correct.
They will be held at the same standards.
All right. But do we have it for the ones that are currently in operation? Do
Yes,
we have
ma'am.
the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I guess the only thing you need from us are instructions to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Basically, go off and do good things.
Okay. I don't know that that requires a vote.
We've done a lot of work because I'm on the board and these guys have been working on this.
It's been a year and a half, quite honestly, so we're anxious to.
Well, thank you for all of
They're
that.
tired of me poking them and saying, let's get this finished.
Been there, done that, know exactly how you feel.
We got bigger things.
If there are any other questions, we don't have any action to take. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
Item 9, update on the completion of Texas Water Development Board project and directions and possible action regarding a change order for the East Side Lift Station project.
Yes, okay. Hi. So I wanted to bring this to you because with all the rain and everything, I would imagine that everybody's wondering what's happening with our projects because we should have been finished by now, but because of all the rain, it's held everybody up. And while Menard is here, he's working on our lift station project, and he basically, with the last conversation I had with the engineer, is like we just gotta sit back and give Ralph an opportunity to wait out the rain so he can finish. But I wanted to.
I sunk my truck to the frame last month in a field.
Okay.
I know exactly why they're not out there.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to bring it to you so that you know where we stand. So right now we are completing all the projects. We're about 99% complete on all of them. And at this point, what I'm doing is I'm reconciling the money to to what our engineers and what the contracts are, and then my next step will be to reconcile to the Texas Water Development Board. So we're pretty close. We have a few minor discrepancies, but no big deal. At this point, the water line replacement, which we closed out last a couple meetings ago, I think, or last meeting, we have over $800,000 remaining in that project, and then we should have about $600,000 remaining in the lift station project, and we'll be pretty close to zero on the wastewater treatment plant. If anybody has any other information that I don't have, please give it to me. I wasn't here at the beginning of these projects, so I'm not sure if there's anything else in there that I might be missing. I don't think so. We're pretty close, but anyway, I just want to say that. But also, during the process of all this, we found that we need to add some air release valves. The TCEQ requires that you have air release valves on at the lift station and at the wastewater treatment plant to release the air as it goes through the lines. Well, on research of the TCEQ regulations, it says that there needs to be at intervals, and those interval air valves were not in the project, so we need to have those installed. What we're requesting is that 4 air valves be approved and installed before we complete this process. We have a bid of $16,000 to have that done. I will tell you that KSA, that our engineers, because they missed it, they have agreed to contribute $5,000 to that, and basically it'll just cost us for the parts at this point. The reason I would like for you to vote to approve up to $16,000 to have this fixed, because I'm still in the process of doing my due diligence, because I did get a quote today of about $10,000 to get it done, and I want to make sure that quote is good, that we've covered everything, and that I think we can come in, we can do a little bit less than $16,000. I just want to be able to do it and get the job done without having to come back to council to ask for that change order. Okay. So at that point, I think that's where we are.
Okay. Any questions?
No, just a comment. As usual, coming back for more money. I'll be glad this thing gets over with, because it seems like we're being, I hate to use the word nickel and dime, because it's more like 20,000 to 50,000 to death.
Big nickels.
And, if this is in TCEQ requirements, it seems to me that our engineers should have seen that and known that. And, it's aggravating. This was what happening before I ever came on council, but it seemed like every council meeting I came to before and since, at least every other one, we're having we need to add this, we need to do that. It's just, I think we need to do a better job of selecting engineering firms, apparently.
I will say, I did contact the engineering firms and other people. I also talked to Sarah in my, doing my due diligence, and everybody I talked to was not aware of this.
But they're supposed to be, that's their job.
Yeah, and it was basically Sarah who got with their engineers that pointed me in the right direction. So it was missed, yeah.
Phyllis, anything?
I agree with him. We brought this up before you were here, Mr. Byers, because we had all the change orders, and a lot of them were miscalculations and, I hate to see lack of oversight, but things that should not have happened. But we're all pretty well aware, and that project was started well before any of us were on here.
Todd?
I would have to agree with Phyllis and Jesse on all of this, really. Frustrated, I guess. You said that you had a bid for $10,000?
Yes, sir.
That's parts and labor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we might come in under the 16?
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, I just want to make sure that they're all exactly what we need.
I think for a project of over $3 million, especially since it transitioned more than one city council board, it's not really unusual to expect some small errors. I think the significant thing about this one is that the engineers agreed they made an error, and they're willing to make a reasonable compensation toward fixing the error, which I think is a good move on their part. So, although I don't like the idea that we have to do it, I think we don't really have any choice. We've got to get 4 more air valves, and they're not going to put themselves in.
Right. Jerry, the 16,000 figure that you are requesting, does that include the $5,000?
No, it does not. So it would be 11,000.
Okay, so yeah, so
I was just hedging. I'm just.
So we would need to approve not more than $11,000.
Yes, that would be adequate. Yes.
Can I clarify, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Well, you have to approve 16.
I'm Ralph Menard. I'm the president of RAM 2. We're the contractor that built it.
Okay.
When we started this project over a year ago, I brought it to the engineer's attention. I've been doing this for 42 years. We put a lift station in with the elevation of the pumps 25 feet deep, and then we literally have 3 miles of 10-inch force main line that runs from where the lift station is up to the top of the hill to the sewer plant. We sent an email and said, you need to put air release valves. We visited with Freeze Nichols, who doesn't have anything to do with this project. They said, of course you got to have air release valves. Okay? The engineer come back and said, yeah, it's got to have air release valves. Month go by, month go by, month go by. We lay the line, we get it laid up there, and we said, we're going to be ready to turn this thing on once we get power from CPS. It took 9 months.
Ralph, we understand there was a mistake made.
Okay, well anyway, they come back and said, yes, we're going to do it.
Okay.
We just couldn't get anybody to say we're going to do it. I understand she has a bid from somebody else. The problem is we carry the warranty on this project.
We also understand that. We also understand that if we go with someone else, that we would have to wait a year. We also understand the ramifications of it.
Well, you just void the warranty.
I understand that. That's what I just said. Thank you.
And again, I don't know what these other people quoted. We said no more than $4,000 a piece. That's raw sewage. So everything has to be stainless steel. So that's basically what we quoted. It's a going price with saws. We've always been very very good with our prices to Castroville. The lift station came in at 1.7 million, you had 3 million to do it. The other change order that came for extra stuff, and you're aware of it, Paul, had nothing to do with me. It was stuff that was just blatantly missed by the engineer, which
Ralph, please.
Well, I was just wanting to bring them up.
We don't need to,
Okay,
we don't
never
need
mind.
to talk about other engineers.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Jerry, is the proposal that you have of materials of equal quality to what Ralph's talking about?
That's why I said I wanted to review it. My understanding is that it is.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make sure, like I said, I just got this today. In even my conversations with Ralph a few minutes ago, he said that, we could do better than the 16.
Well, in
So
the
that's still
event
within.
that, you do need to abandon that offer because of quality control or materials.
The 11,000 still covers it.
Should we go ahead and make this approval for the full 16,000?
I put it in as 16,000 just to make sure, but I really, if we do, the 16,000 was the bid from Ralph.
Okay.
And the 5,000 with KSA, that still gets us to 11,000.
11,000.
Yeah, that still gets us to 11,000.
Okay, so that would cover you.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to get a clarification on the warranty. If we put these valves in with the company that did it, of course, that doesn't affect the warranty.
Yes, sir.
If we put these valves in with another company, does it void the warranty?
That would be up to the contractor, and I'm assuming he just said it
I
would.
think that might not exactly be up to the contractor, because I think that'd be could end up being, in the opinion of a court.
Well,
Because if
yes.
something happened like that, and you said you were going to void the warranty, I'm going to have a problem with you.
Well, when somebody...
If he puts in stuff that's the same thing you were going to, the same quality, and you say you're going to void the warranty over anything...
No, sir,
I'm going to have a problem.
No,
I didn't say that.
You said you would void...
If we used another company.
Your words were, if they come in and do the work, that voids your warranty. That's what you said.
Yes, sir, it's just like you buy a brand new car and you take it to if you got 3,000 mile, 3-year warranty or 36,000 miles, you take it to a mechanic who screws something up, you take it back to the dealer, and the dealer says, sorry, you just voided your warranty, you had no business letting anybody touch that, we'll carry the warranty. I'm just saying we have 14,000 feet of line in, it has to, literally have to determine the 4 elevations, locations where these need to go, because the line goes down under the Medina River, back up the hill, back around, 4 specific
I'm
deal,
not arguing
and
that.
the line has to be, the line is already...
And said, it would void a warranty, and
It would if you...
I don't really agree with that.
If you touch our system that you paid us to put in, it requires in the contract that we have a 1-year warranty.
Councilmember Byers, if we were to hire somebody else within that warranty period to come in and install those air valves, it would be at RAM 2's discretion to void that warranty. They could say it's still good, but they don't have to, and then it would be in a court of law. City, and this is why I didn't really want Ralph to go into this, the city, that's part of my due diligence. If we were to go with another company, which I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying if we are, we would wait until that warranty period is done, because there is no real urgency, because the lines are new, and I went through with the engineers, what is the probabilities. I had a 2-hour conversation with the engineers about what is our liability here, what's the possibility that we'll have a catastrophic failure. Everybody that we've talked to agrees that that's 0. There is a 0% chance that this lift station that Mr. Bernard has put in will have a 100% catastrophe. Is there a small percentage that we might have an event? It's an accepted, yes.
In that duration, are we going to have a conflict with and see violations from TCEQ?
That's the question I need to ask. I haven't asked that question yet. I think we will be fine, but I'm not real sure.
Can I ask another question, clarification? If I understood you correctly a moment ago, I thought you said these are approximately $4,000 per valve?
Per setup, which you have to do.
Of each valve?
Yes, well, the valve and everything is.
I understand.
So when they designate, it has to be at this station and this elevation, we got to dig, the line is live right now.
Right.
The lift station's been in service for 2 months because the Chevrolet dealership's hooked up to it. And then when the pump manufacturer come out here, you have a flow meter that's at the sewer plant that was put in. Well, the pumps, based on the scale and how long they run, tell you how many gallons per minute they're pumping. The pumps are supposed to be putting out about 500 gallons, and so we went up to the flow meter, and the flow meter only shows 350 gallons, which means the pumps are cavitating. They're sucking air, and then they're pushing it, but they can't get, the air seeks a high point, and so the sewer's slipping by under the river, back up, but that air is staying in there, causing the pumps to cavitate and not release. So what we have to do...
I just need to understand if I'm correct. You said, or am I correct, that you said it would be approximately $4,000 for each one of the 4 valves?
Not to exceed 4,000.
So it would be approximately $16,000
Yes.
to do all 4 of them in your company?
Right, because we got to dig it up.
Now, we'd still get the $5,000 from the engineer?
Yes, sir.
So that puts it back at still about $11,000?
Yes, sir.
So, now here's my opinion. Thank you for the answer to the question. My opinion as a council person is we've stuck with this company from the get-go. They've done a good job. We've got an engineering company that's given us a solution and $5,000 because of their error. I think it might be a mistake to try to switch companies at this time, and unless we have a very, very good reason, which, as you pointed out, could be cost, but there has to be a good reason before I would recommend we want to change companies. And I just like to leave it at that. But that's what I think.
Okay, any further comments?
I don't know how we can act on this now because it's an entirely different thing, because now we're talking about what company rather than the amount of money.
No, ma'am.
So I think we need to bring this back.
We need to do it now because we need to get the project completed, but we're talking about the same equipment and the same work. The only thing we're talking about is getting me doing my due diligence to make sure that the city is being charged a fair amount. Basically, that's where we are right now.
So the motion would have to be 16,000 not to exceed, ensuring that the work is done
That's what we hired the engineers
as
for.
it needs to be covered by the warranty.
No, ma'am. I think you just need to authorize me to do my due diligence and make sure that it's done correctly and that
I'm just worried, like Mr. Dyer said, if we don't have a warranty on all this work, all these millions of dollars.
We're not going to void the warranty. I think there's no way we're going to, the city is not going to allow the warranty to be voided.
Okay, so that we don't have to worry about.
No, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the city administrator to go forward with her due diligence and formulate a solution to this not to exceed $16,000 and to be able to back out the $5,000 that is coming from the engineering firm.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Does that make sense?
I hope.
Is that right? I'll second it if it's right.
Allow us to word it.
Clean it up for me, please.
Yeah, thank you.
The request is to,
my motion is to allow city to go forward, not to exceed $16,000, and to not forget that we're getting $5,000 back out of that.
Not to exceed $67 for $5,000.
I'm trying to explain what I was saying.
okay.
Yeah.
Before we have...
Including a $5,000 credit.
Yes, we can have discussion before a second.
I would just like to understand, before I vote,
Yeah.
whether we are saying we're going to change companies to a different company, or whether we're going to stay with the company that did the work, or if we're giving the city administrator the discretion to make that decision on our own. I just like to know what I'm voting for.
Okay.
Could we clarify that in the motion before we vote?
My understanding is we're going to give the city administrator the discretion to negotiate through this. Is that not correct?
In the best interest of the city, yes.
In the best interest of the city, yes, sir.
Yeah, not to exceed $16,000.
And I don't think your interest is in avoiding the warranty, so.
No, sir.
Okay. I think that clarifies.
So that we need to have a motion again or not?
No, I think his motion's still on the floor. We either need
you
to
say it
second it or
again?
let it fail.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, wait a minute. We've already had a motion and a second on the floor.
No,
We didn't have a second before.
Is that lady second?
She said if this happens,
But I
I'll
didn't
second
hear it. You didn't let me hear the motion again.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
No, I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
I still don't know what the motion was
Okay.
to second.
So Jesse,
Okay, let's
can you
repeat the
clarify the
motion
motion? Or Deborah, would you read what you have as the motion?
Mr. Byers made the motion to allow the city administrator to do her due diligence and not to exceed $16,000, including the $5,000 credit, I guess, provided by the city engineers.
Does that represent your motion?
Yes.
Okay. And is that, as you understood it, your second stands?
She wants to second it.
Yeah, well, okay, Phyllis, is that?
Phyllis, you want a second?
Does that?
No,
I'll second
that one.
Okay.
I'll second it.
So, seconded. Okay, so the motion was clarified, and Phyllis recalled her second, and it's seconded by Member Shearhart. So, we have motion second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Before you, could we put a condition in here that says, if this is going to change contractors, they need to come back to us and explain why?
Okay, to amend a motion requires that the...
Tell you what, I'll rescind my motion. Let y'all go from there.
Does the second approve of the withdrawal of the motion?
I got to withdraw my second?
You have to approve the withdrawal of the motion.
I approve the
All
withdrawal
right.
motion.
So you are recommending
Let's start over.
that we take that motion and add the...
I'd like to have it restated.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
I could take a crack at it.
Take a crack at
another
it,
motion.
sir. Yes, sir.
And I think I can catch it.
And if you want to write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to Deborah, she'd appreciate it.
I motion to approve a change order in the amount not to exceed $16,000 for 4 additional air valves in the East Side Lift Station project, on the condition that the city administrator comes back to us if she determines that we must change contractors.
Okay.
I'll second that one.
Second and a motion. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion on the floor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
And Mr. Byers seconded that, correct?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's on tape.
Okay. Whew. Moving on to item 10, update on the Community National Night Out. Chief Feline.
I'm not sure I can follow that, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm not sure I want to.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, I appreciate you letting me come back and give you an update on how our National Night Out went. As we stated in the prior meeting, we went out and had our barbecue cook-off that benefited the Children's Athletic Center in Hondo to coincide with the National Night Out. So Tuesday the 2nd, we had 3 block parties scheduled. Only one was able to get it all together, and that was the one put on by Darren the Schroeders, and it went really well. I believe that we had our city administrator out there. I know the lieutenant was out there, and I believe we had over 30 or 40 people that went to that one over the time that the Schroeders had it. We'd like to get more of those going, but as time grows on. The barbecue fundraiser and meet the officer on October 6th at Regional Park. was our initial Saturday event. The fundraiser revenues are going to be donated to Blue Bonnet. We had 13 barbecue teams sign up, and again, this is a sanctioned event for the barbecue, and they get points and they get a certain amount of payoffs. We had a judge come in from San Antonio that is a judge for the sanctioned barbecue folks. And the rest of the judges were either employees or volunteers of the city, of the surrounding area. We had the vendors out there that attended the event. Businesses set up their tents to support the event. We had live music, and attendees enjoyed food and door prizes donated by local vendors and local businesses. At this point, the National Night Out Cook-Off has generated approximately $2,000 for the Blue Bonnet CAC, and that's with final numbers pending. We're still getting some donations in that were sent last week. So I think it was very successful for our first time doing that. I think that it's going to take a lot more to get it growing, and I think that Corporal Skolwick can get that done.
After my regrets that I was unable to attend, I was at the Surveyors Association convention in Galveston.
Right. Well, I was able to make it out there for a little bit. I was, 8 days post-op, and I was able to get out there and a little bit at the end of the barbecue part and at the beginning of the National Night Out festivities. And I was able to see, I saw Ms. Howe out there and people, and I think it went very well.
It did, and the barbecue cookers was very pleased with the park. We had really good, I went around and asked them what they thought we could do better. And we're going to get, I guess, with the association to do a little more, and now that we know how they want it.
And we're going to have...
They said word of mouth, and they was really pleased with the park. They enjoyed it.
And we're going to have a wrap-up meeting. We're all going to get together and brainstorm at the end of it. But we haven't had that yet. But I think it went well. I wish I could have been more involved in it, but unfortunately...
And a woman won it, so it was great. She did very well.
She beat out her husband.
She did. She beat out her husband.
Yes, yeah. They were first and second, yeah.
Any questions for the chief? All right, hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and you're up next for item 11, presentation on the update of the emergency management siren system.
Yes, sir. Again, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, I appreciate you giving me a chance to come talk to you about this subject. A lot of this came up again while I was out recovering from the surgery. We had Lieutenant Jackson here that handled an awful lot out at the RV park. When we're going through the floods, we had somebody out there 24/7 monitoring the RV park. We even at one point had to go ahead and move everybody out of it. So we were watching that diligently. The river is our main effect on that, and that's something that we do. You have in your packet my City Council agenda report, which briefly states what I'm going to go over real quick. The City of Castroville has a Texas Department of Emergency Management certification as an advanced state of readiness municipality. Sergeant Fisher, over the last 2 years, has spent numerous hours taking our emergency management plan and getting it back to a status of where we are grant eligible at the highest state within the state. Our emergency management plan is, I believe, 1,600 pages long. Something of the sort. And the annexes go and go and go. There's some for the school, there's some for the city administrator, there's some for finance, there's some for public works, and of course ours in the fire department. It's very detailed and it's very well stated. The mayor of the city of Castroville has a responsibility for emergency preparedness and response for the city. She may appoint an emergency management coordinator to manage day-to-day program activities. In the city of Castroville, the EMC is the chief of police. Castroville has 3 emergency sirens. The one is located at the Castroville Fire Department. The second one is located between Medcare and Walmart on Highway 90, and the third is located at the intersection of Washington and Athens. That's a T intersection. It's right at the north side of that intersection. The city used to be part of a monthly testing with Medina County, but was removed for the ability to test our sirens weekly on Saturdays. Prior to my arrival, that process had been put aside and sirens were not tested audibly. I met with Emergency Management Coordinator for the county, Keith Lutz, and we remain in discussion to the results of sirens weekly connectivity tests. Every week they are tested for connectivity, and it opens the sirens and it comes back and tells us that they're all functioning correctly. That's what led to our having to replace 2 of the sirens of the 3 at Washington. and Athens. That one up there didn't set it off. We had a connectivity test that told us they were out. We go out, we do a site test and find out, yes, they are indeed bad. Our Public Works Department went out and replaced the bad units. The one that we had at the fire department that went off at the end of September, that was due to fire ants and battery connectivity. We had fire ants in there, the battery had gotten low, and the siren went off. The only way for us to know that is for the siren to go off. It's got to alert us. Unfortunately, on that one, I was a little slow getting out the iInfo message stating that it was just a problem with the siren, but we got it out and things were set up and got the notice out and got that one repaired, trimmed all the lines for the antenna, and it showed we had to trim all of our trees also. The City of Castroville will be rejoining Medina County Emergency Management and simultaneous testing of all county emergency sirens at 2 p.m. on the second Tuesday of each month, weather permitting. Again, we don't want to set them off if it's turbulent air, and somebody asked me, what do you mean weather permitting? We don't want to scare everybody if it's raining and storming, but we don't have an imminent tornado. These will be audible tests of all sirens, including the 3 Castroville sirens, along with the remaining county ones. The siren will still be tested weekly with the connectivity test, making sure everything works. And our sirens are also inspected annually for wear and tear or any additional damage. The current emergency management profile lists Castroville City Hall as a designated building for a setup for an emergency center. The city does not have any facility that offers backup power in case of a total power loss. Tornado, winds take out power lines, major wreck takes out power lines. Also, the new county annex does not have a source for emergency power. The police department, I guess I can change this, it's not in the process, just purchased a 60,000 kilowatt mountable John Deere diesel generator with 2 hours on it from the DRMO, and it is up at Chandler's Automotive. It's just been, they had to go in because it's only got 2 hours on it, and the thing's 18 years old, but it's brand new. They had to go in, replace a switch, fired right up. We also purchased a 15 kilowatt trailer mounted one that has, let's see, the big one has 4 hours, this one has 2 hours on it. It is a Kawasaki diesel motor, and it we replaced, we cleaned out the jets, it's fired right up. Yes, sir.
How do you hook them up to the building? Do you have a specially trained person?
We will have an electrician come in, yes, sir. We talked with Public Works, and they do not have somebody that does this, so what they will do is they will have an electrician we will have an electrician come in. They will hook it up to a box, which will have a sensor in the middle, and when the power goes out to the main box, it'll trip the switch in there, which will kick on the generator.
So it'll become an automatic system?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We don't have to have a person go and do something when the power goes out, it's going to be automatic?
On the permanently mounted one, yes, sir. On the one that's on the trailer, I'm sure we'll have to do something to go do that because we'll have to be able to take it wherever we need it. But this one and any other one that if we decide to get more of the larger ones, they can be set up to where it automatically comes on.
The reason I bring this up is in my career in the military, I had over 200 generators in my unit, and we destroyed more equipment and hurt more people hooking generators up than any other thing that you could possibly think of. So if you can make these things automatic, you can invest the money to put it in correctly, make it automatic, you will save money and perhaps lives in the long run.
Yes, sir. Council, I believe, offered us or put into our budget $5,500 for this. We spent $2,000 for the 60 kilowatt generator, and it's a $40,000 generator. We spent $1,300 to get the 15 kilowatt on the trailer, and that's a $40,000 generator. So we did really well out at the DRMO, and again, they're all working. So that's our plan, is to have an electrician do it. So we have $2,000 left over to hook this up and have it done correctly, and then take the other one that we have and take it and hook it up the way we need it hooked up to plug into stuff, and be able to maybe have something set up here, airport. We're talking about leaving it out at the airport, out there at the time, and that way we have one here Our place will be running, and we'll have a place on the other side of the river running if needed. We also have an RV that can be pulled on site and used as a temporary command structure. It has a generator of its own and plumbing for use as needed. We also, now again, our sirens are not set for flood, and I believe that was covered pretty well by Larry Sitter and Keith Lutz in the paper, that these sirens are not for flood, they're for wind, tornado, stuff like that. If we have, yes ma'am.
So the sound is the same for anything?
We have one sound, yes ma'am, that's correct. The ones that have, you can have some that have up to 5 different sounds, but those are majorly expensive from my understanding. If we have a major flooding event, we have the use of the airport boardroom as an EC on the east side, because we won't be getting here. And I've come to a verbal agreement with Mr. Winkler at the Hotel Alsace to use their ballroom on the west side of town. We have agreements with the MVISD to move buses if we need to, but of course if we're flooded, chances are they're blocked off also. And that's my presentation to you at this time. Do you have
any financial consideration rejoining the Medina County testing process?
Oh, yes, sir, we are. We are going to go. There's no finance whatsoever to it. No, they have one button on their console. They can test test each siren without setting them off. But they have one button that sets off the sirens, and that sets off every siren in the city, in Canton County. When Castroville opted back out about 8 years ago, they've been unable to test their sirens now because of our opting out of that program. So us opting back into it is going to allow all of them to go off again Tuesday, 2 o'clock. I have the staff that can check all 3 sirens. Saturday I don't. I get one person at each siren, make sure all 3 of the horns are going, make sure they're turning, make sure that everything's working. So yes sir, so there's no cost whatsoever to it except for the fuel of my people that are already out there.
That's a no-brainer.
Yes sir, absolutely.
Any questions?
Yeah, I appreciate the increased info that we're getting with the city. I realize that's not a part of the emergency management plan because the information you're giving us isn't exactly any of these things, but it's a very good help to citizens when they know electricity's out and why it's out. So
yes, ma'am.
That was one of the biggest things that I had, that residents would call me because electricity was out and no one would answer at City Hall and nobody knew who or anything else. But this has been a great help to everyone with the city iInfo.
Right, and I believe we've been doing a lot better in the last year. You know, Larry and I got on a page. Linda, I mean, she calls me like that when they're about ready to start something rather than when she's already into it. Jerry calls me, says, hey, can you get this out? I mean, I can do it from my cell phone no matter where I am or from my desk.
I'd like to thank you because it's so improved.
Well, I appreciate it. I try. I really do.
And specific.
Okay. Thank you.
Jesse, anything?
No.
Okay. Todd? All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The second to the last item on the agenda is to consider and take appropriate action on the cancellation of second meetings of City Council in November and December, which makes them not in conflict with Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays.
Yes, sir. In the past, the council has always, I guess since I've been here, for 11 years, we've always had that, y'all have always taken the time to cancel these. The November one is the week just right after Thanksgiving. Then the December one this year happens to fall on Christmas Day. And
chances are we won't be here.
That's our city holiday, that Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
So if y'all see
this
fit.
isn't just council members, but all city staff and other associated people in the city. So
yes.
Okay.
So if you see fit, we would appreciate it.
I don't think we need any discussion on this. I'd like to hear a motion.
I make a motion that we consider canceling November 27th, 2018 and December 25th, 2018 council meetings.
Got a motion? I've got a second. All right. Yes. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much. And we have one more item on the agenda, which is a motion to adjourn. I would like to hear that right now. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
At what time? What
Oh,
time?
the time is 7:05.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, that was fun.
Appreciate it.